Hello everybody, Zon gets 134 here.
And as always, I'm Average Joe Squad.
And welcome to another episode of Remember the Hyphen, the show where we look at comic books, movies, and everything in between. Alright, so this is probably a little early because I don't think it's going to be coming out this year. Or if it is, it's going to be a little while because I want to say there's some other projects. But basically, you know, we're in between Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Loki. And I figured we would talk about a comic book that they are going to be turning into a TV show. So one of the ones that I'm kind of really interested in is, of course, the Armor Wars TV serial, because it's about Rhodey trying to get back some of the Stark tech that was stolen after Tony's death. And so, mainly because it actually is based on probably one of my absolute favorite Iron Man stories. So I decided, why not? Let's talk about the book that it's going to be based on. Probably a little bit, not fully, because Tony's alive in this story. But I figured, you know, what better time when we had to talk about this story?
Which we had planned on doing this for your birthday, and then...
and then Comic Pop beat us to the punch. I was like...
They didn't do Armor Wars yet.
No, they've done Armor Wars, actually.
Oh, did they? Yeah. Oh, we're talking about The Crossing. The Crossing is the one they haven't done yet.
Yeah. But, you know... But, God damn it, Colton. I got, he showed me a text message and I'm not, okay. But, you know, I don't believe in reviewer dibs, and I want to talk about this, and I figure it's still relevant because we're going to be getting a TV show out of this. And Colton just finished this, so I figured we might as well do it now while it's still fresh. So, okay. So to give a little bit of backstory, because I actually have both Armor Wars and Armor Wars Prologue.
This motherfucker made me read the prologue, and it got nothing to fucking do with anything.
No, like, I think the only thing it really has is it has a little bit of setup for some stuff. Like, there's a trick that Iron Man uses during, I think, his fight with the Guardians that's referenced, or it's a reference to a fight he has with Force in the prologue. And honestly, other than that, the prologue is mainly just a way to kind of set up the new, like, plot, like, or not, the new
storyline.
Yeah, the new storyline for Tony, because this story takes place after the Ironmonger arc, which is why, like, the Silver Centurion's in it. This is also the last story the Silver Centurion armor is in, because it gets destroyed at the end of it, which leads into Tony donning what's known as the neoclassical armor, which it's basically just the traditional armor, but it's updated for the 80s, well, late 80s, early 90s, but basically, to give a little bit of backstory, during the Ironmonger arc, evil industrialist Ezekiel Stane, when it's Ezekiel, not Obadiah is the ultimate Stane, basically wants to make a hostile takeover of Stark Industries, which he gets a woman known as, forgive me for butcher, this name is gonna probably be butchered because she's Indian, Indris, I forget her, Indris Mamunja or something like that. I forget what the name is. I apologize if I butchered that. He convinces her to date Tony, and basically through a bunch of different, like, plots, some of which are sabotaging Iron Man, it leads to Tony losing his business and basically falling off the wagon. So a lot of people know about Demon in the Bottle, where Tony got...
I'm sorry, keep going.
Where Tony became an alcoholic. And basically Tony fell off the wagon. Like, a lot of people don't know he fell off the wagon really early on. Like, literally, I think he fell off a wagon like 2 years after they had done that storyline. Which leads into this really great story. Well, okay, I shouldn't say great. It's really dark and sad, where basically Tony finally realizes he has to overcome his alcoholism, because basically it's so poor to the point where he literally spends his last money on a drink, and it's in, like, the dead of winter. He's with this woman who's also an alcoholic and is pregnant at the time. And basically, she goes into labor while the two of them are, like, out in the cold. And she dies giving birth to this baby, and so Tony has to, like, keep the baby warm all night until eventually the cops find him and the baby. It's really dark, but it leads into Tony finally recovering. At the same time, Rhodey is actually Iron Man, because this is around the same time Rhodey was Iron Man during Secret Wars. In fact, I think Secret Wars actually happens in the middle of this. Which leads to Rhodey eventually giving the armor back to Tony, because this plotline actually has Tony going crazy because Rhodey going crazy because the armor is set to Tony's brainwaves. So basically, it's starting to feed Tony's brain, like copies of Tony's brainwaves into Rhodey's head. So it's giving him massive headaches, and it makes him think that he is Tony. Which leads to this really great scene where Tony makes like a makeshift version of the original armor, which is called the recovery armor, because he was tinkering with it as he was recovering from his alcoholism. And he manages to defeat Rhodey, who's in a much more modern version of the Iron Man armor. This, of course, leads him to moving out to L.A., which, if you know the movies, that's where Tony is in those movies. But most comics, he was actually living in New York. But here he's moved out to L.A. This, of course, leads to him creating, I want to say it's Circuits Maximus, which, yes, is the dumbest name ever for a business, but that's what he named it. And basically, him and some of these friends that helped him set up, they're celebrating, but like Tony goes out with some friends, with like Rhodey and the one, and her brother opens this package, which was literally a bomb sent by Stain, and it blows up the building and kills the brother, which leads to Tony getting so pissed off, he finally dons the Iron Man armor for good again, which is the Silver Centurion armor, and he fights Stain, who uses the Ironmonger armor, because he used some of Tony's plans for an upgraded armor. Unfortunately, he didn't have all the plans, so he actually can't control the armor completely, so it actually has to have a computer sending, like, information to him, which is actually what leads to Tony winning, because he destroys the computer. Then the Silver Centurion armor is just so much more advanced. Like, it's advanced to the point, I think it's the only Iron Man armor that's actually powered by a nuclear reactor. Because it has a backpack on it, and it literally is a clean fission reactor that powers the entire thing, which I'm like, how did you not get cancer, Tony? Like, there's like...
The book writers helped him out.
Yeah. Well, then there's always three plots to any Iron Man story. Tony loses his company, Tony falls off the wagon, or Tony is dying because his body has been destroyed by the Iron Man armor. Or some bullshit happens. So, yeah, basically, that's the plot of what happened. Also, the sister of the guy, like, she was in love with Tony until that bomb killed her brother. Then she works with AIM to try and kill Tony, and then she ends up dying because of, like, a missile. Like, I think that story is in the prologue.
It is. I remember that one.
The prologue, like, otherwise that's it. Like, it doesn't even bring up the main plot of this. Like, you don't even get the setup.
I got clickbaited.
Yeah, I did too. Like, that's why I actually had you read it. I know I was kind of an asshole.
I got clickbaited.
But I had to do that because...
You asshole!
Because, like, this is such a, like...
I'm calling Xbox on you.
Like, I don't understand why this is called that. Because it literally has, like, nothing to do with it. Like, I think the only thing is that, like, there's some enemies in here that work for Hammer, who's the main... He's not even really technically the main villain of this, but he's the reason this happens. So, okay. So, let's get into the main plot. So, basically, Tony has finally gotten, like, Stark Enterprises off the ground. Him and Rhodey are, like, making start it bigger and better. Rhodey's dating, like, this PR lady that works for Tony. Things are good. Until
things were not good.
Yeah. Until Tony has a run-in with some random villain. Was it like a villain? Or I can't remember. Well, basically, he runs into a dude who's using tech that seems very similar to his Iron Man armor. And basically, he finds out that Justin Hammer, an industrialist who was Tony's rival, you might know him if you ever saw Iron Man 2, except in the movies, he's like this young, suave dude. In the comics, he's like 80 years old and is just kind of an asshole. But like he's like Flintheart Glomgold in DuckTales. But basically, he hires a corporate espionage agent known as Spy Master, which... If you're a spy, I don't know why you would want to name yourself Spy Master. I think it kind of, like, defeats the purpose of you being a secret agent.
Yeah, really.
But basically, he planted a bug inside Stark Industries and basically stole like stuff for the Iron Man armor. And basically Tony tries to like go through like the legitimate channels. He tries to go to the government and be like, hey, someone's stolen my technology. He even does like, you know, like lawyers and stuff. Unfortunately, Tony didn't copyright any of or patent any of the Iron Man armor stuff. Mostly because he didn't want that technology getting out and being used by the government, which, to be fair, I kind of get. Like, you know, like, his weapons were what caused him to get the shrapnel in his heart, basically. Even, like, back in the days where, you know, he got the shrapnel during Vietnam. It's why he stopped making weapons. Like, granted, he still did defense contracts for the government. He made, like, armor and jets and stuff like that. But he didn't outright make weapons, basically. And so basically, Tony, you know, he has this breakdown, and, you know, like, because there's this great scene where he freaks out at one of the guys that work for him. He's like, you know, how many people have died used by the sword that I accidentally made? And so basically, Tony, using his computers, figures out that there's like all these tech guys that could potentially be people that are using his suit, his armor, which includes like government, like government made armors, like the Mandroid, the shield Mandroids, the guardsman armor, Stingray, who I want to say was like a character that was made, but like basically he's a government like character. I think it was literally made for this book. The only other time I've ever seen him is him getting murdered. But basically, he's his whole thing is he wears an aquatic armor that lets him move around like a stingray in the water, and basically he's like a Coast Guard, basically. I think I can't even remember exactly, but so basically, Tony decides to start what will eventually be known as the Armor Wars, where he would use these special negator packs to basically destroy any sort of Stark circuitry in the suit, and in doing so would basically cause irreparable damage to his career as Iron Man, his relationship with the rest of the Avengers, and even Captain America and S.H.I.E.L.D., where basically, you know, he gets so driven to try and stop people from using his tech maliciously without his knowledge that it actually kind of sets up what eventually when we're going to get to the crossing, like the idea that Tony cannot be trusted sometimes, because he will do sometimes horrible things even though it is for like the greater good. So I just want to kind of ask you a question, since I asked you to. Do you think this is actually a much better Civil War than Civil War? Yes.
And I don't say that just because I think Civil War is like the most bloated, overrated piece of shit story I've ever read. Even I'm not even going to talk about the second one. I mean, the second one never happened.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but this felt very much more in character to me. It felt more kind of like complete as a story. You know, we had a very solid beginning, middle, and end. And overall, it was just more of an enjoyable read. Like, I knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Unlike in, say, Civil War, where you don't always know what the fuck's going on during that.
Yeah, it really...
Unless you've read, like, everything.
Listen, in my opinion, this is how you make Tony a bad guy without making him a bad guy. Like, yeah, he did some sketchy shit, but you understand why he's doing it. He feels immense guilt at the fact that, like, people have died because of his technology getting out there, even if he didn't mean to do it. You know, so like, because like one of my favorite things is the epilogue issue where he's having that nightmare, like where he, you know, he's chasing like this monster, and it's this basically just a clone of himself, but it's all circuitry, like, and it literally is just, you know, like the enemy in this isn't really all the various villains or people that are using his tech. At the end of the day, it's Tony facing his own demons of like, I can't, even though I stop this, I will always feel guilt about what has happened, be it the Armor Wars or my tech getting out there. And I kind of just have to accept that it's going to always gnaw away at me and live with it, basically. You know, because like, it's really, really, in my opinion, it's really rough to watch Tony as like he's one man arming his way through all these people. Like, it's cool. I like some of the fights. There's some really good fights in here. One of my favorites being his fight with the mandroids, like the point where he scraps all of them, and the last guy is so freaked out he ejects from the armor, and then Tony just destroys it because he's just laying waste to all these mandroids, and then he just like the dude is just like, fuck this, I don't care what Fury pays me, I'm out.
Fuck this. Fucking leaves.
Yeah. What was one of the other ones I really liked? Oh, I also liked the fight with Firepower. What'd you think of Firepower?
Interesting, at
Yeah.
the very least. Like, a lot of the characters in this, I wasn't really... either I wasn't very familiar with,
Yeah.
or I just didn't flat out know at all.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like... It was interesting to read, as I was kind of like, okay, like, I don't know exactly who this is, but I guess I'm going to find out.
Yeah. I also love the guy, the one guy that, like, Tony comes for the armor, and the dude just gives him the armor. He's like...
I want to fuck with you.
Yeah, no, I'm not fucking with Iron Man. I love it because he's like, well, that was a nice armor and it was a great meal ticket. I guess I'll just have to find another one. Like, I loved that. That was like one of my favorite parts. Like, because he just is like,
fuck this.
No, like, there are better ways.
I'm not gonna end up on a list of things he's gonna fuck up today.
No. Well, how'd you like him working with Scott Lang, the Ant-Man?
I liked that. I like seeing more. I like Scott. What can I say? Seeing him in this was kind of enjoyable.
Then it's kind of cool to see that like Cassie was like his daughter was like a character even before like, you know, Young Avengers or like,
yeah.
Like it was kind of cool to see that like she had been like an idea.
She'd been around at least.
Yeah. And I liked him like using Ant-Man to like set up a link inside Hammer's computer because like, you know, like the only way we're gonna be like we're gonna have to get in there and actually, but no one's gonna be able to do that. And he's like, Tony's like, what if I knew a man that could do that? And then he hires Scott. And like I love it because Scott's like, I was a criminal, but I'm trying to get legit. And like Tony's like, I promise you, Scott, you will not get in. No one will know, and I can get you some money to start this little business you're starting. Scott's just like, fuck of a bitch. All right.
Takes a drag of a cigarette.
Fuck. Probably. Although I will admit, like, I love this story, but like, this also kind of proves why I think it was a good idea for the MCU to not do the Iron Man is my bodyguard thing. Because, like, man, this really pushes how much of a flimsy excuse that is. Like, to the point where, he has to fake the, like, who, like, the Iron Man bodyguard is to Nick Fury. Which, I'm sorry, do you really think that Nick actually bought that like, him and Iron Man are, like, two separate people?
Now that is some bullshit.
Like to the point where like, you know, like he makes it seem like when Fury asks him to help with the mandroids, and he has to fake that like Iron Man planted a bug in their stuff. I'm like, that is so dumb. Like,
it's so fucking flimsy that it doesn't hold up to any kind of scrutiny.
No, I'm sorry. Fury here must not be Fury. This has to be a life model android, a life model decoy. Like, this has to be not the real Fury, because there's no way Fury would buy that bullshit. Okay, I'm trying to think of some other parts that I wanted to bring up. How'd you love the 1 second Stiltsman part where Stiltsman...
As soon as I saw him, I'm like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Why is fucking Stiltsman here?
Because he had some Stark tech. It's how he got them rocket-powered stilts.
Oh, my God. Fucking damn it. It's up there with when I showed you that new Marvel Legends line. You're like, fucking Stiltsman
yeah.
and Frogman are in this?
No,
what
oh my
God.
God.
You're like, what the fuck is this?
No, it's like who gives it? Who's sending Frogman to space?
My God, that was another one.
Oh.
That's when he's shit-talking Ben, too.
Oh, yeah, I'm
Ben's looking at him like, look, man.
Like, you shut the fuck up, Frogman. You are the lamest Spider-Man villain ever. Because I want to say he wasn't even a Spider-Man villain originally. I think he was a Daredevil villain originally. He was so lame that...
It's just fucking lame.
Daredevil's like, no, you can have him.
Instead of you lame or something.
Like, there's some... Admittedly, a lot of this story is just Tony fights a bad guy for an issue and then, like, moves on. Like, there's, like, some story elements, but then... Like, you got, like, the stuff with Stiltsman and, like, Beetle, who literally is just there to get his ass beat by Iron Man, and then Iron Man leaves.
Just to get fucking obliterated.
Yeah. I love the terrorists that, like, hijack that plane with, like, I forget what their names were, but, like, and, like, they like, have, like, these weird guns and shit, and I'm like, who fucking hired you? You're just like these random
What the
ass.
fuck is this?
There's a character actually I don't think we've ever talked about on here. The controller, the one issue where he's like using like this spa to make like an army of people, and like Tony accidentally crushes a dude during the fight with the controller, and Tony's like, no, he's dead. I didn't even mean to. He got in between me and the controller, and then Tony like beats his ass because he's like, now I'm mad. Probably one of the more, because everyone always is like, oh, the best part about Civil War is Cap and Iron Man fighting. This did that first, which, admittedly, it's not Captain America technically. It's the Captain, because this is when he was wearing the black outfit before U.S. Agent.
Yeah.
What did you think of that part when
I was like, damn, we really doing Civil War before Civil War's the thing?
Yeah, like, so basically, like Tony knows he's probably going to upset the government even more, but at this point Tony pretends that he fired Iron Man so that Iron Man can basically work to dismantle any more tech the government has.
Oh yeah, then fucking Electro shows up.
Oh yeah, because like he gets captured by the guardsmen. I actually kind of like the guardsman armor. It's kind of a shame that we don't see it a lot more. But basically, technically it's not
even technically Electro. It's Rhodey.
It's Rhodey in white.
It's just fucking whack. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, because they need to get away to is it the vault that they're at?
I believe so.
The maximum security of the vault, which it's like the raft, except it's like in like a mountain in Nevada or somewhere. But basically, Tony wants to dismantle the guardsmen, which the guardsmen were basically less powerful Iron Man armor given to the vault to act as, well, guardsmen. And so basically that's the last bit of tech that the government has of his, or at least he assumes. And so basically he has this plan to knock everybody out, and then he'd fight the guardsmen, which actually I think causes some of the inmates in there to escape. So basically Tony manages to not destroy all of them except one, and then the captain shows up, and because I think Steve basically decided he no longer wants to be called Captain America, but he doesn't want to be like Nomad, so I actually kind of like the captain outfit, even though it is kind of a little weird. But basically, like, Tony fights him, and he knocks Cap out by electrocuting him. Well, not electrocuting, like it's like some sort of like stun weapon. And then he destroyed, and I love the dramatic, because like basically like Cap is paralyzed, and he sees Tony about to destroy the last one, and let me just read this. But as he reaches across Steve Rogers, their eyes meet and hold,
and then they fuck. And then they fuck.
So if you're wondering like where everyone gets the whole Cap and Tony are gay thing, right here. No words are spoken. None are needed, for both men know that a bond has been broken today. A bond as old as their friendship, as deep as their innermost thoughts. A dear and precious link that may never be whole again. Which is hilarious, because like I like this is actually kind of where like their friendship has kind of
fizzled out
for them, basically. And it's also where the beginning of the whole Iron Man is no longer a member of the Avengers. I actually really love it, because like basically the Avengers are like granted, it's the start. It doesn't completely fizzle out until the next issue. But basically Hawkeye, who I guess is the current leader of the Avengers,
whack.
Yeah. Basically,
fucking Moon Knight's there.
Fucking Moon Knight is here, because Moon Knight is an Avenger at this point. Well, because at this point everyone's a member of the Avengers. Because like, well, everyone except Spider-Man. And so basically, like, Hawkeye's like, you gotta stop doing this, Tony. You're gonna get somebody killed, and Tony's like, I already am, Hawkeye, because like it's my armor, it's getting, it's causing this, and I love it because they try to because everyone, all the Avengers know Tony's Iron Man, but the world doesn't. So I want to say at this point he's actually married to Moonbird here, or not Moonbird, Warbird.
No, it's not Warbird either, because Warbird's Carol.
No, yeah, that's right.
That's Carol's
what is her name? It's some bird name.
And of course, they don't fucking list it, which is like, seriously?
Yeah.
I hate when they do that shit. If you're gonna have that many fucking characters on the page,
yeah.
fucking list who the fuck it is.
But I love this issue because, but basically, like, you know, like, tension is high, and then Tony decides to make it even worse. Because you see, this story takes place during the Cold War. And so Tony has to go there and take out a couple more, which includes the Crimson Dynamo, who was a villain sometimes and sometimes is not, depends on who's in the armor, and the Titanium Man, who's... What was your reaction to who was piloting the Titanium Man armor when you were reading this?
I was like, bruh, really?
Yeah, it's this villain called the Gremlin.
Who's... It's like, God, I'm like, oh, it's the 80s, you say. Yeah, I'm looking at some goofy shit right now. That's what it is.
What was your feelings when we got to the Cold War tension of this book?
I was like, oh, this dates this a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, something tells me when the TV show is
they're not going to have this in it.
So, which I actually kind of love the plan here, because basically Tony decides that he wants to try and be as under the radar as possible. See, as much as he's, you know, causing problems for himself, he would like it if America and Russia didn't start World War III.
Yeah.
So he uses a stealth armor, which doesn't have as many weapons, but it'll allow him to fly under the radar. So basically he finds out that, like, Gremlin is using, like, one of the old bases for Titanium Man. And basically the Russian government doesn't trust the Gremlin because, like, he more or less only works for them because he wants the titanium armor. And they would like the titanium armor back and given to someone who's a little bit more in line with the Russian party. So basically they're like, Comrade Dynamo, you are loyalist to Russian army. You know, you will help us by, you know, once Stark defeats Gremlin, you defeat Stark and get us titanium armor. And
I thought we've switched into Russian at him all of a sudden.
Well, I love it because, like, Crimson Dynamo's like he knows that, like, Stark will kick his ass. Because, like,
but he does it anyway.
Well, he does it anyway because he's like, I am loyal to Russian, to KGB and glorious Soviet Union. It's so stereotypical 80s Russian character. I love it too because, like, Tony, like, negates the armor, and Crimson Dawn was like, all right, just kill me. And Tony's like, I don't do that. Which then, of course, leads into his fight with which Crimson Dawn I actually love because apparently the stealth armor can actually change color. So Tony makes it turn white so that he can hide in, like, the snow. Unfortunately, Crimson Dynamo manages to basically get Tony in an arm lock. He's basically just going to crush Tony and the armor. Because the Titanium Man armor is very powerful. It's legitimately just the Iron Man armor, except with made of titanium. So Tony does one desperate thing where basically he puts all the power of the armor into the thrusters to get free. Unfortunately, if you don't know anything about titanium, once titanium ignites, you can't put it out until it completely burns. Which leads into probably the darkest moment in Iron Man history ever, where basically Tony ignites the Titanium Man armor with Gremlin still inside, and he basically burns to death. Actually, would you mind reading that? The part where he
yellow?
Yeah. Because
for a moment, Iron Man hovers silently and then slowly turns and flies east. Over the Bering Strait, he will radio Jim Rhodes for an helicopter rendezvous. He will do this out of instinct, not from thought. For at this time, his mind is as cold and numb as the blackened tundra below.
Yeah. What did you feel when you found out?
I saw this. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Like, I actually had a pause and I was like, did I just really read what I just read?
Yeah, where Tony burns a man to death?
I was like, what?
Which this actually leads into, of course, the government deciding that, yeah, we're going to need that anti-Iron Man weapon now. And then, of course, we get the last panel, the last page, which is probably one of the more interesting things, where basically the Avengers vote Tony out of the Avengers. Which were you expecting that when?
Yeah, basically, I was like, okay, well, I know the Avengers are going to react to this.
Yeah. So This is actually what actually leads to both the Avengers West Coast being built, because I want to say Tony actually funded them, because like he even though he wasn't really the Avenger anymore, he still funded them. As well as, of course, you know, for the Crossing, since I know how much you love that story, the development of ForceWorks.
Fuck, you make me read that.
You were the one who wanted to read it.
I don't mind ForceWorks. It's just the Crossing itself is such a fucking
to be
lame
fair,
story.
ForceWorks is pretty lame. But and of course I love that, because like Tony actually gets so upset. He actually thinks about drinking, which I love the where he's looking at a bottle of gin and he's just like, oh, I could have a drink, but he doesn't. Which this is probably the only time where I'm like, you know what, Tony, no one would like feel like blame you if you started drinking. I'm not saying he should have, but like that's one of those, like, he fell off the wagon, yeah. And so basically the government, of course, is like, Tony, you're gonna help us get Iron Man, or we're gonna like shut down Stark Industries. Which is fine for Tony, because firepower is actually the last on his list. And I actually love this where it shows off just how badass firepower is, because like up until this point the Crimson Dynamo armor had been you'd argue probably the most powerful armor Tony ever made. Yeah, because like it's radioactive, it's like nuclear powered, it has like all this extra like firepower to it. And I honestly I love this the Silver Centurion armor. It's just so cool looking. And so basically, like, Tony makes a plan where like he has a helicopter that like will be out of range enough that like he can pretend to be on the helicopter while at the same time fighting firepower. And then we get the fight, and it's just it's basically, you know, what if Tony fought a moving weapons platform? And there's some really, like, clearly they knew that they weren't going to have the Silver Centurion armor after this. So more or less you get to see all of its abilities. Like, I love the pencil beams from the fingers. You know, like the concuss, like, it's just a good fight. Like, and that's really all I could say about it, really. But, you know, basically, like, Tony, like, gets demolished, like, to the point where, like, even, like, getting hit in the armor, like, because they take the helmet off so that Rhodes can see what, like, happened in, you might as well show this kid too, because it's like Tony like is like bleeding out of his nose and mouth. That is how hard he got hit. And so basically they decide that, like, because Tony, like, Iron Man basically went to the copter, so Rhodey pretends that, like, you know, Iron Man has taken attack their helicopter. So the military decides, well, you know, like, we, you know, Tony's there, but, like, you know, we want to get Iron Man, so acceptable losses. So Firepower launches a fucking nuke at them, because he has like a low radiation nuclear missile.
Which I'm like, I'm gonna call some horse shit on that.
Yeah, it's more like it fires, and so Tony appears to leave the helicopter in the Iron Man armor, and the Iron Man armor gets blown up, and you see like what's left of the Silver Centurion armor with blood coming out of it. And of course, no one actually believed that Tony died. I assume you didn't.
No, I was like, no, I know this, calling bullshit.
Which I love this, because like basically what happened was Tony and Rhodey, because basically like the helicopter had a mobile triage unit, and it had all these packs of, which I love, this is so 80s, of HIV tested blood, where basically it was tested for HIV and it was negative, because this was the 80s and that was something you worried about when you got blood transfusions. And so they basically, Tony set the armor on autopilot, and the armor being full of blood, which this is probably like one of the grossest things I've ever heard of. And basically it explodes, and I love this because, you know, Tony got really banged up. They basically tried to say that the reason Tony got banged up was the explosion caused the helicopter to shake so hard he fell out of his seat.
I'm like, bro, if you fall, what you fall your seat onto, a bed of spikes?
Yeah, because like, you know, he has broken ribs, he has a broken
black
arm,
eye.
Like, I could probably forgive the black eye and the broken ribs, because like I was in a car accident once, and it gave me severe whiplash across the chest from the belt. So like any harder, I probably could have actually cracked a couple ribs, but and I can even get the black eye. But like, yeah, like
he gets all fucked up.
Yeah, and then of course the guy that made the firepower armor, the government's like, all right, this armor's great and all. It belongs to Uncle Sam though, so if you could have firepower, put like the armor on this truck. And then the guy who made it's like, yeah, about that. I'm actually using this so I can take over like these other businesses, so I can like run Tony Stark and other companies out of business. Which I'm like, bruh. And of course, firepower just blows up the truck, and they're just like, nah. I also love it because I think in this we also get Tony actually puts in a virus that into the files that has his stolen tech. Which basically makes it so that it deletes out of every. It's a computer virus that deletes it from every computer base on the planet. Which I'm like, that seems a little dangerous to me.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is hilarious because there's like a later story where Tony makes a virus like that, a computer virus, and it becomes sentient and like tries to kill him. Because of course it did. And then of course they start fucking with Tony, and Tony actually at this point decided that like this is like one of the main times where he argues that he thinks the Iron Man armor is just as much of an addiction as his alcoholism.
Yeah,
which is like something to think about. Basically, he's like, you know what? After all this, I shouldn't even be Iron Man because I've hurt people. People have died. Like enough is enough. But then Firepower makes the mistake of fucking with his industry, and like it's costing money for him. Like people are losing their jobs. He almost kills somebody here, and so basically Tony's like, "All right, you want a war?
I'll give you a
war." And so he goes back to his penthouse, and he has like a secret place where he basically tinkers with the Iron Man armor, and so basically he's like, all right, one last time I will be Iron Man, which of course he eventually decides isn't going to be the last time. And then Firepower, like he interrupts an history, and then of course we get the new Iron Man. Which, you mind putting that up? What'd you think of the neoclassical armor?
Looks decent.
I kind of like the rounded shoulder pads.
Yeah, I'm much more of like a classic kind of guy myself, but like this looks decent.
Yeah, to be fair, like as I said, it's called the neoclassical, so it pretty much is the traditional armor. It's just
like updated
a little bit. It's like looking at like a traditional classic muscle car, and then like a slightly updated one. But basically, and I love this too because like it's like the reverse of the previous fight where like he's got all this new tech in it. He just like I love it. He's got an energy shield, which I'm like, what the fuck is that? But like, it's such a great fight, and basically, it ends with him just stomping Firepower, like the part where he gets stuck in the ground. But it's there's not much to say about the fight. It's just Tony stops him, and also decides that like I can't stop being Iron Man. He's like as long as people need help, I need to be Iron Man basically. And then of course, Tony's like, the Armor Wars is finally over. I'm gonna go home and get a good night's sleep. Which of course leads into the penultimate issue where Tony, basically I think it's just called The Nightmare. And basically it's about Tony more or less just what like his thought process is as Iron Man, more or less. I basically kind of wanted to ask you more kind of like what was your opinion about the epilogue and just what your thoughts were on it.
I thought it was a pretty fitting end to the whole thing. Like I don't really think there was a dud issue in this where like I was reading it and I was kind of bored. Like this kind of kept me captivated like the entire time I read it. Like it kind of makes me like upset at myself. I kind of put off reading it for so long just because I had so much other stuff I was reading at the time.
Which is fair. I mean, to be fair, I think that.
I mean, I'm reading The Crossing. I mean, which is like, goddamn, man.
Yeah. At least this looks better than The Crossing.
Yeah. The art in this is beautiful.
Yeah. Like I just kind of love this work because like I think a lot of people don't get what Tony Stark is as a character, and it's one of the reasons why I liked how the movies did it. You know, like here you know, like he's hunting this creature that like, and he's doing it through the trails of bodies that this whatever it is has left. And you know, and he has like moments where he's seeing Rhodey, and Rhodey's dressed as the classic Iron Man armor. He's shoveling bodies into like a furnace, and like and then it turns into like Rhodey's like at a bar serving Tony like a drink, and Tony's like, Rhodey, you know I can't drink. I'm like, oh, I'm not giving you the good stuff, boss man. I'm giving you some hard truth, and sometimes it's hard to swallow. You know, like this monster, you keep running from it. You have to kill it, Tony. You have to bury it.
Next time, baby.
Yeah. And then like, and I love the reveal where the monster he's fighting is himself. The idea that like, yeah, it sucks what has happened, but he has to accept it.
You may not like it, but accept
Yeah.
it.
Which is why eventually he's like, I've just got to destroy it. Like I had to give into it and kill it. You know, and like, because I just love that like, like, you know, even though like Iron Man is reborn, it's still a bitter end because like of all the things Tony had to do to get to that point. Which is why I think, you know, I don't think enough people give this book a lot of credit because it is really, really good. You know, it's about like the guilty conscience that Iron Man has at both the good and the bad his armor has caused. And you know, because like it's one of the things I loved about the first Iron Man film, where like, you know, it was Tony realizing how much danger his weapons caused. And you know, it was kind of like the overarching kind of like thing that drove Tony throughout all of the Avengers films.
I know you loved that about the movie. I know you didn't love it about the game.
No, yeah.
I know you didn't love shit about
like
the first game.
That game was ass. Like pretty much any of the Iron Man games were ass. But like,
oh no, I own them.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, like I actually think that's why Civil War in the movie makes more sense because like you know, all the death caused by the Sokovian incident, and you know, and Ultron, he felt guilt because it was partially his fault because he created Ultron, but also because he knows better than any other superhero the dangers of using his the power and gifts recklessly. Like I don't agree with Tony in it, but I think
you get where he's coming
from because it's like I caused so much grief with my gifts until I learned to be responsible with it. I don't want anyone else to do what I did. Granted, which of course leads into the big fight with Iron Man or Cap, outside of the fact that like he's pissed that like Bucky killed his parents, despite the fact that Bucky didn't mean to kill his parents because he was under mind control. But so yeah, that was the story. So I kind of want to get the overall thoughts, and then I kind of want to talk about what you think will come of this from the TV show. So well, let's kind of give our thoughts here real quick.
Yeah, overall, out of 10, I'm just gonna give my rating. Out of 10, I'm gonna give this a solid 9. Really, really enjoyed it. I gotta knock 1 point off though, because you made me read the fucking prelude, and it had nothing to do with anything.
That's fair.
But overall, really, really enjoyed it. It's got very beautiful art, some pretty solid writing, probably the most solid writing I've read in an Iron Man book.
Yeah.
So I really recommend it, honestly. Like if you're if you're not an Iron Man guy like I am, I'm not a very big Iron Man guy at all, never have been. I really, really enjoyed this.
Yeah, I would also give this a 9 because like I feel like most people like think that the best Iron Man stories are ones where it's barely him being Iron Man, like Demon in a Bottle. And while I like Demon in a Bottle, like it's only really one issue, and the rest of the stories are either stuff that like are like to show he's an alcoholic, or just kind of stories that are a part of the ongoing story there. Like for me, this is about him being Iron Man. This is about like him fighting these villains or even heroes that have stolen or gotten stolen tech and trying to prevent more people from dying at the cost of basically his standing as a superhero. And and granted, I think at the end of the day, he realizes that he did that and he has to work on it, which, basically will be the stories after this. Except for Armor Wars 2. As someone who owns Armor Wars 2, don't buy or read Armor Wars 2. It has nothing to do with this. To the point, and it's so bad to the point, Tony defeats the main villain. He didn't even know who the fuck this dude was. The dude literally wanted revenge on him for some bullshit that Tony didn't even know about.
I don't even know who you are.
Yeah, no, it literally is that. Like, Tony's like, Rhodey's like, I got him, boss man, because I think Rhodey was also dressed up as Iron Man to help Tony. He's like, do you know this guy, Tony?
No.
No. I actually have no idea who this is. Which, of course, also, I want to say that also led into, he infects Tony with this virus that destroys his nervous system. And he basically becomes paralyzed and then has to fake his death to get this treatment that will be like an antivirus that will repair his nervous system. Which will, in fact, piss Rhodey off because he faked his death and didn't tell Rhodey he faked his death. Which leads to Rhodey getting the War Machine armor and stop being Tony's buddy for a while. Actually, up until the crossing where Tony dies. Then we get young Tony. And then a whole bunch of bullshit happens.
Which, when we finally fucking review the crossing, tune in for that, because my God, we're going to have a lot to talk about with that.
Yeah.
And just how ludicrously bullshit that storyline is.
Oh, man. But anyway, so basically I kind of wanted to end this off, and we won't be very long. What do you think the Armor Wars story will take from this, outside of like just the main framework?
From where I'm standing right now, this is where I'm gonna guess they're gonna go. It's not gonna be how I want it to go, but it's gonna probably be my logical guess on where they're gonna go. Now that we have Sharon back in S.H.I.E.L.D. and she's still a power broker, my logical jump would be that somehow she gets her hands on some of the Stark tech for the armor, and it gets sold to somebody who starts making the copies of it, using it for various nefarious acts. Mm-hmm. Yes, that rhymed. Yes, I intended it to. To which Rhodey's gonna suit up and deal with it.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be kind of like how we had Falcon and Winter Soldier really touched upon the legacy of Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
I feel like Armor Wars is gonna be dealing with like the legacy of Tony and what Tony created.
Yeah. Do you think we're gonna get Rhodey becoming Iron Man, or do you think that he's just gonna stay War Machine?
I'm not sure. Given that they've let Sam be Cap now, I could definitely see them letting Rhodey be Iron Man.
And I feel like that is where we're going, is that Rhodey's gonna be Iron Man. I kind of hope it's not just it's the Iron Man armor, or the War Machine armor, but painted red and gold. I would really prefer like either just be an Iron Man armor, or
yo man, can I at least get some fucking Extremis?
I actually do think that like probably Pepper will give him the Extremis.
Man, fucking fix me.
Like,
I remember you doing that rant and it fucking annihilated me.
It made me so mad that I'm like, because like we see Rhodey like after 5 years, and he's like he's still paralyzed from the waist down, and he has the Stark like support brace that allows him to walk. I'm still like,
man, fucking fix me.
You like, yeah, well, because Extremis can do that.
Yeah.
Like, because it can repair the body. It's why Tony doesn't actually need the arc reactor in his chest. Because, like, it literally repaired his heart and removed the shrapnel. So, like, it could fix the paralysis. Marvel. They didn't do it.
Marvel, I miscalculated.
Actually, to be fair, I can't remember if he still has the braces in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so I kind of assume that, Tony reached out to Rhodey and was like, you want some of this Extremis? Or, I do think that you're probably is the most. I do wonder if Extremis will play into it, seeing as how, like, Extremis allows you, if used right, it can let you link your brain to satellites. So I almost wonder if that'll also play a factor into the Armor Wars. seeing as how dangerous and powerful Extremis is. But I do think that that's probably what's going to be, because I feel like that power broker stuff was a little bit of setup for Armor Wars. It makes too much sense not to, especially when she says we're gonna get like some prototypes
maybe they'll throw us like some shit out of left field. I don't know. Like I just assume that's where they're gonna go.
Yeah. I also kind of assume we might actually get to see, since we're doing the raft, we might get to see the guardsmen, which I'm excited for because I love the guardsmen. I just love the design of them. Like, yeah, it's just the Iron Man armor but green, but it has a neat look to it. Ooh, maybe we'll get the mandroids. Could you imagine seeing the fucking mandroids?
Oh my god.
Like, those are cool, but like, man, that name is so fucking bad. Like, did Fury not like get like a good guy on this? Like, these are some good looking motherfucking robot suits. What do we call them? Mandroids, sir.
It's like
motherfucker.
I've been watching the fucking history of foods or some shit on History Channel where they've been talking about fast food. You want to know what the original name for the fucking Big Mac was?
Oh god.
That's what you bringing it up reminded me of. It was gonna fucking be called oh, please tell me it's in here. Please. The Aristocrat. The Blue Ribbon Burger.
The blue.
You're like, what?
The Aristocrats?
The Aristocrat.
Or the Aristocrat. You tell me this is what that joke was
the
based
third name, Big Mac, because the first two were come up by the guy that created the McDonald's franchise, or like took it over. The third name, Big Mac, was created by Esther Glixton Rose, a 21-year-old advertising secretary who worked at the corporate headquarters.
Wow.
The Big Mac.
The Aristocrat. God fucking damn. Like, oh, could you imagine?
Oh, that'd be fucking terrible. Yeah, can I get a Aristocrat Lodge with a Coke?
No, I meant the burger, not those. No, not the joke. Oh God.
No, I don't want joke. The Aristocrat. I want an Aristocrat like in a large with a Coke.
Yeah.
In a large fry.
Well, I was just being smart. Like, no,
I know somebody's gonna bring that fucking joke up there.
Or the Blue Ribbon Burger. What the
fuck was that? Gonna get it with some Pabst Blue Ribbon.
There's no way that the Big Mac could win an award. First of all, that burger is fucking gray on the inside. A good burger is pink.
Adam over here be like, man, let me tell you, I've been thinking about this the whole episode, man. That fucking Big Mac, man, that shit's fucking gray.
Well, I'm just saying, it's
it just hopped off the fryer and literally did not get flipped the fuck over.
Because I'm like,
can I leave us in the comments? Do you want Adam to give a Big Mac rant on camera?
No, like it's a good burger. It ain't fucking a puck burger where like it got so really got like poofed. Like a good burger, you put it on a griddle with grease and you get it nice and flat.
That's what this episode send it into is Adam gives out the perfect burger.
I like burgers, okay?
Like Tony does too. There we go. We've tied it back in.
Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that like fast food burgers are bad, because I will eat a McDonald's burger or Burger King.
He wants
burger.
an Aristocrat. Don't let him lie.
But like, you know what? I've lost focus.
No, I tied it back in. We're talking. Tony likes cheeseburgers.
Yeah, Tony likes cheeseburgers.
There you go.
I'm gonna get you all the cheeseburgers you want.
Thanks. Now I'm fucking depressed.
Well, it's okay, Colton.
I was already depressed, but now it's even worse.
Colton, I love you 3,000.
Almost smacked the shit out of you.
My only real worry is if they do make Iron Man, because I don't want to hear the fucking fans complain, oh, they're making a black man Iron Man too. I'm like, he already was Iron Man. He was Iron Man during Secret Wars.
Give me the comic. Give me the comic. Read, motherfucker, read!
Yeah, like he was.
Rest in peace, headphone users. I apologize.
Like, you know, you know, especially because I love Sam and Rhodey, so like I'm happy, but like I don't want to have to fucking deal with what I already dealt with the people complaining about Sam is fucking.
Yeah, I want to have to deal with this shit.
I mean, thank God we're not admins on that Facebook group where they're.
Oh my God! Listen, I would probably leap off a building.
Especially because there's like this dude in that Facebook group who's just like, no, it's racist. That's I'm like, shut the hell up.
I was just about to be like, man, shut the hell up.
I don't
He wants to fucking hear your ass.
Especially because, like, as an aside, I'm one of those people, like, if you're going to make a character a legacy character, regardless of race or gender, that person has to fucking earn that legacy. I would say that about any character. Like, as someone who didn't really like Ironheart being Iron Man, because they literally just wanted to be like, oh, a woman's going to be Iron Man. That's so... I'm like, you didn't fucking earn that. Like, especially because, like, you could have just had Rhodey be Iron Man again. Like, my point is, it has to be earned. And if Rhodey becomes Iron Man in this, it's earned. Because he was War Machine. He was Tony's best friend. And he knows how important that tech is to Tony. It's like why Sam made sense to be Cap. He understands what it means to be Cap. Hell, I argue he understands that better than Bucky. And Bucky was his best fucking friend. But, I am excited for Armor Wars. I'm just kind of disappointed that we're getting it without Tony. Just because, like, this is Tony's story. Like, I'm still going to watch it. Because, of course I am. I'm the Iron Man guy. I'm going to watch it. I don't know. I feel like there's going to be a part of me that's kind of just disappointed with it. And
you might be pleasantly surprised.
I might be, and I probably will be pleasantly surprised. It's just, okay, maybe it'll just be like I'll have this niggling feeling in the back of my head that's like, this is great, but it could be better.
Life is good,
but it could be better. But would you agree? Like that? It is kind of like at least.
No, I can understand that.
Or and I feel bad saying that because, like, I've enjoyed every single MCU TV show because they've been really fucking good. We're
waiting on Loki now.
Waiting on Loki, yeah.
And Loki looks pretty fucking promising.
Well, Loki looks fucking... It's kind of the kind of weird I like from superhero stuff.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that there's, like, a talking cartoon penny or, like, a clock as one of the characters, I'm like, oh, this is going to be fucking acid trippy as shit. This is going to be more acid trippy than WandaVision. Loki just being like, the fuck?
I need to show you this clip from the trailer because it's funny as shit. I don't want to distract too much because we probably should get wrapped up.
Yeah, let's we can do that before I leave. But bottom line, I just hope it's at least worthy a successor to it. Like I hope we get to see Firepower and maybe some of the heroes. Like I'd love to see Stingray on screen, even if it is just getting his ass kicked. I feel so bad for Stingray. He's literally only 2 books. And both times, he's getting his ass kicked. And in one of them, he just fucking dies. Like, straight up, just fucking dies. But, anyway, guys, I hope you guys at least enjoyed this as kind of like a pregame to the Armor Wars TV show and what's to come. And I hope you guys look forward to whatever we're coming up next, because next month, you guys are in for a treat. Because it's all about the Age of X.
Oh, yeah.
Schnicked.
The good, the bad, the pretty passable.
And the Wolverine.
Yeah, and the Wolverine.
Oh, my God, that should be the name of the month.
What, the good, the bad, and the Wolverine? Because Wolverine's in every fucking movie, basically.
No, that actually is... That's good. So, come back, guys, for next month, The Good, Bad, and Wolverine, where we review...
Every X-Men
movie.
But until then...
God help us all.
Until then, guys, I'm Average Joe Squad.
I'm Zongetsu 134.
And as always...
we ask you...
remember the hyphen?
And take care. I am Iron Man.
Now we're going to get flagged. I hope you're happy.
I didn't even sing the song. Just turn it off.